Om Sadashivasamarambham
Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam
Paryantam Vande Guru
Vande Guru
Paramparam.
Paramparam.
Om Sahana
Om
Bhavatu Sahana
Sano
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karvavahai
Karvavahe
Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Tejasvinavadhetamastu
Mahavidvishavahai.
Mahavidvishavahhe.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti Shanti.
Shanti. Okay, so we will continue with where we left off. We had finished the first verse of the chapter. This is the Dvitiya Mundake Prathama Khanda. The second chapter, the first section we had finished. So we are on verse number 2. So 2.1.2. Second chapter, first section, second mantra. We will chant. Divyo Hyamurtah Purushaha
Divyo Hyamurtah Purushaha
Sabhahyabhyantaro Yajaha
Sabhahyabhyantaro
Aprano Hyamanaha Shubraha
Aprano Yamana Shubhra
Yaksharat Paratah Paraha.
Yaksharat Paratah Para.
So first give you just the word meanings, then we'll discuss Purusha Hi. So that is Purusha in the first line, the third word. Hyamurtaha is he plus amurtaha. So he you take out from there. Purusha Hi. He means indeed. So Purusha Hi and Purusha is Brahman. Indeed Brahman. So that the description is going to come. Indeed Brahman. Divyaha. Divyaha is divine, self-effulgent, doesn't need any external light to be seen. Amurtaha is formless. So he Amurtaha, we're using that word now. This Brahman is indeed self-effulgent and formless. And Sa Bahya, and that Sa you have to connect again to Antaraha. Sa Bahya, Sa Antaraha. He is also outside, he is also inside. And Hyajaha, Hyajaha is broken into he plus Ajaha. Is Ajaha indeed birthless? Apranaha is without prana. Then Hyamanaha is again broken into he plus Amanaha. So indeed without mind. Shubhraha, pure. Paraha hi aksharat is beyond. Paraha is beyond aksharat. Aksharam here means Maya. Paraha yakshara is beyond Maya, and Parataha is beyond this universe itself, is beyond the Jagat itself. So very cryptic, and that's why we need the commentary. And Shankara introduces this verse with the words Yat Sarvam Upadi Bheda Varjitam. So this Brahman, which is free from all differences in terms of Upadhi and Aksharam, indestructible and free from all forms. And he gives the example of Akasha, free from all forms, just as space is free from all forms. So this Brahman is being talked about. And these words, they present Brahman as immutable, unchangeable. No change can happen in Brahman. Where do changes happen? In Maya, in the world, in the Jagat. So whatever happens in this Jagat, no change can happen in Brahman. And therefore this mantra defines Brahman. The Shastra starts with Aksharam Brahma. Aksharam is actually neutral gender. So Aksharam Brahma, that Brahman which is not subject to Sharaha, not subject to any destruction, that is neutral gender. But now he is saying Purushaha. So Purushaha is male gender. So again, a very subtle indication that the usage of different genders for one Brahman, what does it mean? It means that no gender definition can be applied to Brahman. The Brahman is beyond gender. You cannot say male or female. And this Brahman is Purushaha, Purnaha. Purnaha here is complete, Sarvagataha, all pervading. And the Brahman is a supporter. So all pervading supporter of the universe, and which means what? Existence of this universe is borrowed from Purushaha, Brahman. And therefore Brahman exists as the existence principle. Existence consciousness principle is Brahman. And our very existence, as well as the existence of the universe, is borrowed from the Brahman. And Shankara gives an additional definition. He says Purushaha is Purnaha Parishayova. He is existing, he is complete, he is infinite, and he exists. Purnaha here means infinite. And Purishayova. Puri is the city, which is the body. So he exists inside the body as the consciousness principle, the witness principle, and he exists outside the body also. So Purushaha is that which is existing everywhere, including inside the body. Divyaha means Chaitanya Swarupaha, of the nature of pure consciousness, which again effulgent. And Divya also has the meaning of divine, which means that which is not found in this world. So we have Laukika things, which is found in the world, and Alaukika things, which is not found in the world. So Divyaha means Chaitanya Swarupam Alaukika. So again, it has to be understood as Brahman is in fact the revealer of all the objects found in the world, not just Alaukika. It's a very important word. So Shankara gives three different meanings to make us understand in what all aspects this word Divya has to be seen. The first one, I told you already, self-effulgent. So he says, Swayam Prakashayate iti Divyaha. That which shines by itself, that is Divyaha. Why does it shine by itself? Because it's got consciousness as its intrinsic nature. And that is why very often the word Swayam Jyotihi, the self-light, the light which is intrinsic, is used for consciousness. Jyotihi is here being used as consciousness. Swayam Jyotihi means self-revealing consciousness. So that is the first word, self-effulgent is the best translation. Then he says Divya can also be taken as Swatmani Bhavaha. Swatmani Bhava, Atmani means in oneself. Swatmani, Swatmani means in oneself. Bhavaha here is residing in. And therefore Swatmani Bhavaha, the one who abides in himself, which means the one who does not have any other support. I am abiding in myself means what? I am supporting myself. I don't have any other adhisthana, no other support other than myself. So that is another meaning, a very important meaning, because Brahman is the support of the entire world and itself does not need any support. Then Alaukika. So here in Alaukika, Divya can be taken as Swarga here, as heaven. So that which is not available on the earth, extraordinary, out of this world. He gives three different meanings. We have to keep all the three meanings in mind, and you will find that in the Shastram, in various places, the word is used in one of these three meanings, and we have to extract that meaning from the context. Okay. Then he amurtaha. Indeed, amurtaha, without form. But again, though Brahman is without form, that revealing consciousness, Brahman, has no form. The consciousness principle has no form, but it is the revealer of all forms. Okay. So Brahman has no form, it is formless. Now, of course, you carefully must note that while we say that Brahman is formless, we cannot say that whatever is formless is Brahman. Why can we not say that? Can you give an example of what is formless but which is not Brahman?
Hello, Ravi. Carry on. Somebody else can carry on.
Acharya ji, Akasha and Prakasha are both formless
Akasha and Prakasha are formless, but they are not Brahman. Why?
because they are born.
Because they are born. Very good. Okay, so Akasha and Prakasha are not formless. Time also is not formless. Sorry, Akasha and Prakasha are formless. Time also is formless, but they are not Brahman. Okay. Now, another meaning can also be given to this. Anything which is known, remember, anything which is known because of consciousness alone. And since we are aware of Akashaha, we are aware of Prakashaha, we are aware of time also. The space-time principle we are aware of. None of these can be called Brahman because they are all known to us. Anything which is known is not Brahman. Brahman is the consciousness principle, the knower. That consciousness principle, that witness principle alone is Amurta, is formless. Okay. Then the next word, Sa Bahya Bhyantaraha. Bahya is outside, Abhyantaraha is inside. So Sa Bahya, Sa Abhyantaraha. You have to break that Sa into two pieces and add it to both the words. So consciousness cannot be talked about as outside or inside. It is both outside and inside. Simple reason, it is all pervading. There is no place, when you say all pervading, there is no place outside or inside where Brahman is not there. Now, if it is all pervading, a question should come up here. What is the question? When something is all pervading, why does Shruti say Sa Abhyantaraha and Sa Bahya? Something which is all pervading is all pervading. Why does Shruti come up with this definition, outside and inside? What is the idea of saying outside and inside?
Is it because of the Upadhi? Like
pot space
yeah,
within
yeah.
the pot and outside. Is it to do with that?
You're getting there, but you have to, all these things have to be enunciated clearly. Whenever you say outside and inside, what is
Acharya,
automatically thought about?
is it Vyakta and Avyakta? Because it could only be reflected by the body.
No.
No.
It's been talked about as the Sakshi, so from that principle, from that point of view.
No.
Hello.
When you use, yes, Nataraji, go ahead. Bully.
Whenever I say something is inside or outside, there's a frame of reference for me. It is outside that or inside that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where is the frame of reference over here?
Yeah, the body-mind complex is what, when I'm saying it's outside me, I would mean it's outside my body.
Yeah. Excellent. So that's the answer. Shruti is saying outside and inside because we are used to thinking in terms of our bodies, right? When you say I'm going outside, you normally mean something outside the room or something outside the house. So wherever the word Bahya and Abhyantara are used, where is the point of reference? It is the body only. And therefore the concepts external and internal, outside and inside, are not really applicable, right? Why not? Because the body itself is existing inside Brahman. So you must remember that. I am saying Brahman is outside me, inside me. It's just a way of showing that anywhere is Brahman. And therefore you have to understand that, really speaking, that Brahman pervades me because I am existing in that Brahman. The body exists in this Purusha. Right? So outside and inside emerge from what? From the idea of my body. So this body is in that Purusha. It actually emerges from that Purusha. It is sustained by that Purusha. And finally, it is resolved into that Purusha only. That is why all pervading. See, these concepts here, unlike in Bhagavad Gita, where we give a very general outview. Now, these concepts here, they are being gone into in great detail because once these concepts are clear, then only our understanding of the other Upanishads can be adequate. So then the next word is Ajaha. He Ajaha. So he again means indeed. Brahman indeed is Ajaha, birthless without beginning. When a thing is born, it had no prior existence. It means there was no prior existence, right? When a thing is not, when you say ajaha, something is not born, it means there was no prior non-existence. When you say thing is born, it means there was no existence of that thing prior to the thing being born. So when you are saying that ajaha in Tarka Shastra language, it is a temporary object. Okay. And we saw in Bhagavad Gita in one of the chapters, in the second chapter, I think, that when you talk about something temporary, that temporary object is called Prag Bhava Pratiyogi. Pratiyogi means endowed with. Prag Bhava means prior, Prag Abhava Pratiyogi. Prior, Prag, Abhava, non-existence, Pratiyogi, endowed with. So that temporary object had prior non-existence. It's a little bit complicated language, but you can follow, right? Prag Abhava means there was no existence before. Before what? Before the object was born. And when you say the object is temporary, you mean there will be an end to the object, and that is called Pradvamsa Abhava Pratiyogi. Pradvamsa means after destruction. So after destruction, Abhava. Pratiyogi means endowed with. So there is Prag Abhava Pratiyogi and Pradvamsa Abhava Pratiyogi. Endowed, that object had prior non-existence, and that object has post-destruction non-existence, which means that existence is there only between the birth and the death. And therefore, from this definition, we have to come to the definition of what is a Nitya Vastu, what is an eternal Vastu. Eternal Vastu is that which does not have Prag Abhava, which did not have prior non-existence, which means it was existing always, and which does not have Pradvamsa Abhava, post non-existence. Why do we say this? Because there is no prior or post in the case of eternal. Whenever you say prior or post, you're talking about a temporary vastu subject to birth and death. And therefore he says aja. Aja means it is free from being born. It was always in existence. It had no prior non-existence, and it has no post non-existence. It will have no destruction also, right? Now, remember that aja means not born, free from death. So here, the Shruti only says ajaha. It is not born, it is free from birth. The question is, okay, fine, it's free from birth. What about death? Can you extract from Tattva Bodha? What should be the answer? Logically.
Avikara.
So don't give just words. Full answer.
It's
We are saying ajaha, free from birth. So if you correlate that to Tattva Bodha teachings, what should it mean?
it's free from all the Shadvikara.
Free from all the Shadvikaras. Why?
Because something which is born has to die also, and also has to undergo the changes.
So that is, yeah, okay. So this Janma, this birth, is basically Upalakshanam. It is an indicator, a generic indicator for the 6 Shadvikaras. And when he says ajaha, he ajaha, free of birth, he means he is free of asti, vardate, vipranimate, apakshyate, vinashyate. All he is free of. Okay. Now here is a very important point, right? What is the sequence of Shadvikara in Tattva Bodha?
Asti jayate vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyate.
Asti is the first one, right? Now here Shankara says, Jani Mulatvat. He says Janma is the Moolam, the base. And he says, Tat pratishedena, by negation of that Janma, all the Vikaras are negated. By negation of birth, all Vikaras are negated. So very, very important refinement in our understanding of Shadvikara. Until we come to this, remember the base was Asti. First one is Asti, right? Here he says no. That Tattvaboda mention of Asti is an exceptional order. And that is not the normal order. The normal order should be that birth should be taken first. So Jayate, Asti, Vardate, that should be the order. Right? Jayate, Asti, etc. is the order. Why? Asti literally means what? What does Asti literally mean?
Existence, that which exists.
Existence.
So he asks the question, first, let us say a child is born. Then we talk about the child, birth of the child, right? Child is born. And then you ask the question, Asti va nasti? Is the child now existing or not? Right? So first, necessarily, you have to talk about the birth of the child, and then only can you ask whether the child is existing or not. And therefore, he says the order is Jayate, Asti, Vardate, etc. Okay, it's a very, very important refinement in our understanding. Remember that in Tattvabodha, whenever we talk about Tattvabodha, it is Asti first. But logically speaking, you cannot talk about if something is existing or not unless it is born, right? Of course, if it is not born at all, Ajaha, then it's different. But in the normal world, everything is born first, and then only you say Astiva, Nastiva. Is it there or is it not there? That understanding is a refinement which you should keep in your mind. Whenever you are talking about anything other than Brahman, the order is Jayate, Asti, etc. In case of Brahman, it doesn't matter because Jayate is not there. And therefore Shankara says, now he gives the various, what they call connections to Tattvabodha. He says, Ataha. Ataha, because Brahman is what? Is Ajaha, not born. Therefore, he gives various adjectives. Dhruvaha. Dhruvaha means it is there all the time. Vriddhi rahitaha, referring to Vardate, does not grow. Aksharaha, he says, which has the meaning of not subject to destruction. What is the connection? Viparinama, Vikara. Ajaraha. Ajaraha, he says, Jara rahitaha, free of old age. He connects it to Apakshiyate. Apakshiyate is the connection in Tattvabodha. Amritaha, not subject to death. He connects it to Vinashyati Vikaraha. So one by one, all here he has negated what? He has negated 4 Vikaras. That is Dhruva, but this is Shankara's commentary. Okay, Dhruva, Akshara, Ajara, Amritaha. He has commented in this manner. And for Dhruvaha means Vardate is rejected. Akshara means Viparinama is rejected. Ajara means Apakshiyate is rejected. Amritaha means Vinashyate, destruction is rejected. He has negated only 4, right? 2 have not been negated. Jayate and Asti. Why? He says Jayate, but he doesn't say, some commentators say, by the very word Ajaha in the mantra, Jayate has already been negated. And Shankara doesn't talk about Asti. Asti has to be understood as negated. Why?
Because only that which is born exists.
Very good question. Okay. Now, we are saying here that Asti has to be negated. Right? In Shadvikara, Asti is included. See, when he says Ataha, when Shankara says Ataha, he means that because of the use of the word Ajaha, all all the Shadvikaras are negated. And that is why he gives 4 examples. That he talks about Dhruvaha, which means Vardate is negated. Aksharaha, which means Viparinama is negated. Ajaraha, which means Apakshiyate is negated. Amritaha, which means Vinashyati is negated. And the Mulam, the mantra itself says Ajaha. So Jayate has been negated. And Asti is yet to be negated. But we have to understand that Asti is negated. Why? Because Vardate, right? It is growing. When something grows, is changing. So Asti. So Shankara is basically saying that all 6 have to be negated by the use of the word Ajaha. Now, a very good question here is, Asti means what? Existence. So if you are saying that Ajaha means that Brahman is free of all the Shadvikaras, Asti is one of them. So we are saying that Brahman Nasti, Brahman is not there. Brahman does not have existence. How do you explain that problem? If you are, you can of course say that it negates everything excepting Asti. Because Shankara in his commentary itself does not negate Asti. But we have to understand that he's Ataha, everything is negated. That is what he is saying. Though specifically he does not negate Asti, it's as if everything has been negated, right? You can of course take one view that Shankara did not negate Asti. So he's not saying that Asti is negated. But if you are saying that Asti is not negated, there is a problem in that statement. What is that problem? Can you see? Asti is part of what classification? Sadvikara? Do you see the problem now? No? Asti is a vikara, right? In this classification of Sadvikara, Asti is a vikara. And therefore you cannot take the interpretation that Shankara negates only 5 and not Asti. Asti is a vikara and Brahman is not subject to vikara. Then what does it mean when you say Asti is not there for Brahman? Okay, so that's a very interesting question. I hope you're getting it. On one hand, you are saying that all the vikaras are being negated. Another vikaras is Asti. But Asti is existence and Brahman is existence. How do you say that Asti is a vikara is the question. Any answer?
Acharya, you said Asti is a vikara, that means it comes to existence. But Brahman is existence principle in itself and it's always ever existing.
That's what I'm asking. When you put Asti under Shadvikara, which that Shankaracharya's Tattvoda itself says Asti is a Shadvikara. Vikara is a change, right? And you are saying that is negated. But you can say, if you say that existence is negated, what kind of Asti are we talking about?
Is it gross existence? Something which can be perceived, Gyanendriya,
So here,
Sir,
the sense organs?
No.
Sir, can it come from the Satchitananda principle of
No.
Brahman that we are
I
talking
think
about?
talking of Satyam and Mithya, the temporary existence and dependent existence.
Go ahead. You're on the right track, but go ahead.
Because Brahman is Satyam, and so that's why.
No, you are on the right track, but remember that 6 vakaras are being negated. So Asti is being negated, And therefore, what kind of asti, what kind of existence is being negated?
That which comes and goes.
Which is that?
Dependent existence.
Mithya.
You're getting there. So, what is being negated? Which existence is being negated? You're talking about Brahman, remember. So which
Dependent
existence,
existence.
which is called what?
Mithyatva.
Mithya. Mithya.
Okay, welcome. Is the RC. Okay.
Mm.
Just as when we talk about RC, consciousness, we talk about two consciousnesses, the original consciousness and the reflected consciousness. Remember that when you talk about Sat also, we are not talking about existence. Existence means Sat, right? Like Asti is from Sat. And therefore, we are talking about, there are two existences also. The original existence, original Sat, and the reflected Sat. And the reflected Sat is there where? Original Sat is Brahman. Where do you find reflected Sat?
Upadhis.
Everywhere
Also.
else.
Everywhere else. Yeah. And all the
Original Sat is Brahman. Everywhere else in the entire Jagat, Sat is there, but it is Sadabhasa, Sat Abhasa. Sadabhasa depends on what? It comes and goes. That is why it's Abhasa. A reflection comes and goes when? When the reflecting medium comes and goes. And therefore, when he says Asti is negated, he means that the reflected Sat, subject to the reflecting medium coming and going, is negated. So the Asti of Chadvikara, remember, is always relative Sat, relative existence, while the Asti of Brahman is absolute existence. The Asti of the Jagat, Asti belonging to the Jagat, is reflected existence, Abhasaha, called Sadabhasaha, Sat Abhasaha, not original Sat. And therefore, Shadvikara cannot be said to be wrong. Vikara, the Vikara of Sat, the changing existence of Sat, is what? It is Sadabhasaha, Sat Abhasaha, relative existence. While the existence of Brahman is absolute existence. And therefore, when Shankara says that Asti is negated also by the use of the word Hi Ajaha, he means what? That the relative existence of the world is negated. Means the world comes and goes, and therefore that kind of coming and going, that kind of existence does not belong to Brahman. Brahman's existence is absolute existence, which doesn't come and go. Very interesting turn of events. You have to be able to connect this to Tattva Bodha. So some concepts which we have introduced so far, you will find they are being refined, you will find they are being dropped altogether sometimes. Okay, the next word is apranaha. Apranaha is literally means what?
without prana.
Without prana means what? It can have two meanings. What are they?
One is without life or without life force.
And so see, you have to learn to think in this manner. When you say उसमें प्राण नहीं है, what does it mean?
No life force.
Which means what?
That he's dead.
Death.
He is dead.
Death.
Okay.
Yeah.
So apranaha can mean two things. A person who had prana and doesn't have prana now. So he is dead. And it can mean a person with an entity which never had prana, which is completely free of prana. And therefore, here, since we are talking about Brahman, the context is not the first context. You cannot say Brahman had prana and now it doesn't have prana. Because Brahman was not born and does not die. Therefore, apranaha here means free of prana. Because why is Brahman free of prana? Tell me one thing. There is a Tattva answer to that.
Again, life comes out of
On
creation,
kosha,
and there is no creation where Brahman
it's
is
beyond kosha.
concerned.
Is beyond kosha. Why? Because koshas are born.
Yeah,
Right.
created or born.
Right?
Yeah.
Koshas are born. Because it's, remember that prana comes when Sukshma Shariram appears. In the order of creation, Sukshma Shariram comes when is the question, which you have to go back to the Tattvabodha and find out. And therefore, Pranamaya Kosha will come only when Sukshma Shariram appears. And therefore, free of prana means it is not born at all. And there is no prana. What is the purpose of the prana? Prana purpose is what? Kriya Shakti. Right? So prana gives you what? Pranamaya Kosha is meant for giving you the strength to do things. Kriya Shakti as it is called. And that is not necessary for Brahman. Why?
Because it doesn't do anything.
Because it's a karta.
Because it is
Karta.
a karta. Right? So aprana, because a karta, it doesn't need pranamaya kosha, it doesn't need a sukshma shariram. It's not born, it doesn't, no vikara is there. And therefore, that is not necessary. Therefore, this, remember, second meaning has to be taken because of the context. Because prana will be created only after creation comes. And Brahman exists prior to creation. And though Brahman is the very creator of the prana, he doesn't need prana to create. Then Yamanaha, Hi Amanaha, without a mind, indeed without a mind. Again, Tattvabodha will tell you that mind is created, right? Mind is a karyam. Mind is a product of being born. And therefore, being Aja, you cannot expect to see Manaha and Brahman. And Manaha is a manifestation of what? Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, which is seen in the two koshas, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manamaya Kosha. The same argument is being used. So Sukshma Shariram comes after creation. Therefore, Brahman has no mind because Brahman is the creator of the Sukshma Shariram. Remember that Brahman has got Maya as a tool for the purpose of visualizing as well as creating. Maya has got Prana Shakti, Maya has got Ichha Shakti, Maya has got Kriya Shakti. And because the tool that Brahman uses has got Maya, all the Shaktis are not necessary for Brahman. Because for creation, Prana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti is necessary. And therefore, the doubt can arise, how can Brahman create? If you are saying Brahman is Aprana, Yamanaha, all that, the answer is that Brahman uses Maya to create. And to correctly speaking, Maya is the actual product, the Upadana Karanam, which converts into the world. Brahman is Vivarta Karanam, nothing happens to Brahman. Therefore, Prana is not necessary for Brahman. And Shankara adds here saying that Prana and Manaha, two words here, should be taken as Upalakshanam for all the Karmendriyanis and Jnanendriyanis. Everything. Prana includes Panchakarmendriyani, Panchagnanendriyani, as well as the objects of all the Indriyas. Right? And Manaha includes, Prana includes Karmendriyani, Manaha includes Jnanendriyani, also the objects of all the Karmendriyanis and all the Jnanendriyanis. Prana, remember, is a product of Rajas. Manaha is a product of what?
Sattva.
Sattva. Jnanendriyanis are a product of Sattva. Karmendriyanis are a product of Rajas. Therefore, all the components necessary for creation, which is Karmendriyani, Jnanendriyani, and the objects of both these Indriyanis, put them all together, the entire Jagat has been included. And therefore, by saying Aprana and Amanaha, he is negating the entire Jagat. He is saying Jagat is not really part of Brahman. It is, he is not touched. And that is why Shubhraha, next one. Shubhraha means pure, free from any impurity, including Ragadvesha. So just as the impurities of the dream, if you are stuck in a huge bowl of mud in the dream, when you wake up, that dream mud does not touch you. Similarly, the impurities of the universe cannot touch Brahman. Why? As a waker and as a dreamer, there are two different orders of reality. As a waker, you are Vyavaharika Satyam. As a dreamer, you are what Satyam?
Pratibhasika.
Pratibhasika Satyam. So the Pratibhasika Satyam impurities or objects cannot touch the Vyavaharika person. Similarly, the second level is Vyavaharika and Paramarthika. Vyavaharika impurities cannot touch Paramarthika Brahman. And therefore Shankara says Brahman is free from Jagat and therefore necessarily free from any impurity belonging to Jagat. That is called Shubhraha. And then he, again indeed, Aksharat Paratah Paraha. Aksharat Paratah Paraha. So Aksharam here, remember, is used in the sense of Maya. The word Aksharam generally means Brahman. Okay. But it can be used in the sense of Maya. Where did you see this earlier in Bhagavad Gita? Don't remember? Anybody at all? Okay, I'll quote the verse, then you tell me. Parastasmat bhavonyah avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. What was that verse about? Tasmat avyaktat paraha, greater than avyaktam, greater than the unmanifest. What is there? Anyaha avyaktaha bhavaha. There exists another unmanifest. What is the nature of that second unmanifest which is greater than the other unmanifest? Yaha sanatanaha, eternal, na vinashyati, does not get destroyed. Sarva bhuteshu nashyatsu, when all beings are destroyed. Therefore, the word aksharat is used in two meanings in that particular verse. Tasmat avyaktat paraha. In the first, avyaktam is unmanifest. And anya avyakta bhavaha. There exists another manifest superior to that. That second one is Brahman. Okay, so akshara is used in two meanings. One is Brahman and one is avyaktat. Avyaktam means avyakta maya. And the avyakta maya is akshara only. Why? Because when the universe is resolved, Maya is not destroyed. Maya still exists in the Karana Avastha. And the adjective Paraha is used because everything resolves into Maya, but Maya itself is dependent upon Brahman, and hence Purusha Brahman is Para, superior to it. This is the second Paraha, Aksharat Paratah Paraha. Okay, so that's what Aksharat Maya, which is Parataha, which is that into which everything resolves. Paraha, this Brahman is superior to that Aksharam Avyakta Maya. Therefore, you need to understand very, very carefully. Aksharam, these words refer to Ishvara, who is indicated by, who is pointed out by the Upadi. That Maya, that unmanifest Maya, which in Tattvada terms you can call Antaryami, it's also called Aksharam. That Antaryami, that Ishvara. Remember that when you normally say Ishvara, it's a term which can refer to three things. What are they?
Virat,
Maya Sahita Brahman.
Virat,
Hiranyagarbha, and Antaryami.
Hiranyagarbha, Antaryami. Right. Now, if you look at the order of creation, from Antaryami, what is born? Hiranyagarbha is born. From Hiranyagarbha, Virat is born. And therefore, while the usage, the context of the usage decides whether you're talking about Virat or Hiranyagarbha or Antaryami, when without context you are using, then it is Antaryami only. That is actually Ishvara. The rest are products. So Ishvara is the Karana Prapancha, the cause of the other two. And that Ishvara is superior to all products of Maya. That is the meaning of Parata, indicating the superiority of Ishvara. But Param, so Parataha in this, we are just discussing one word, okay? Aksharat, Parata, Paraha. 3 words are there. Aksharam, Parataha, Param. So Parata means superior to the entire universe, because the entire universe resolves into Antarami, including Hiranyagarbha. But Param in the Moolam, in this Paraha, that word, last word, it refers to Nirguna Brahman. It is saying that Nirguna Brahman is superior. And why do you say that Antaryami is superior? Because Antaryami is Jagat Karanam. From Antarami comes Hiranyagarbha, from Hiranyagarbha comes Virat. And therefore, remember that depending upon the context, Shastra uses Antaryami for Ishvara, which is Samashti, Karana Shariram plus Chaitanyam. And uses Ishvara generally to denote Hiranyagarbha, Samashti, Sukshma, Sharira, Sahita Karanam. But generally, if you're just using the word Ishvara, it can be taken Antaryami. If you're going to distinguish, and you have to use both the terms of Hiranyagarbha and Antaryami, then you say Antaryami for Antaryami, and you say Ishvara for Hiranyagarbha. Entirely contextual. Therefore, to understand in what meaning these terms are being used, one has to be alert to the context. What is the context? Because it is easy for us to lose sight of the context since we are going into the meanings word by word. But in this context, we have to see it means Nirguna Brahma is superior to Antaryami Ishvara. Okay. And since all Karanam is superior to all Karyam, this is the meaning given. Therefore, the conclusion is that Nirguna Brahman is superior to Akshara Ishvara, who is superior to Hiranyagarbha, who is superior to Jagat. So, Nirguna Brahman, superior to Antaryami, superior to Hiranyagarbha, superior to Virat. This is the meaning that we should take. And therefore, Supreme Brahman is beyond Maya also, not affected by it. So Brahman has to be seen in 2 ways. One is not bound by time, and therefore Satyam. Right? But when you see Brahman within the framework of time, you will find that it is Mithya. Right? Not bound by time is Satyam, with bound inside the world, Mithya. So you will find that Shastra uses the word Satyam in 2 ways. And again, context, always context. Context requires a correct understanding. For example, you say, necklace and gold. You use 2 words. You will remember that though necklace is a form, it ultimately is gold only. And therefore, the usage of words where they all point towards one object. It's called, in Sanskrit, it's called Samanya Adhikaranyam. The word is used in the meaning of Samanya Adhikaranam. When you say necklace is gold, the necklace does not disappear. But the understanding changes, that there is no difference between necklace and the gold. So when the usage of 2 different words points towards the same meaning, it is called Samanya Adhikaranam. And Satyam also, you will find that Shastra uses the word very, very much like that. So there is another Mahavakyam called Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman only. And there also you will find that the words point towards Brahman only. Sarvam Idam Brahman. The words don't go away. The objects don't go away. The Namarupa doesn't go away. But it is perceived to be mithya because they cannot exist apart from Satyam. And therefore, when you are saying Saguna Brahman, remember Saguna Brahman is beyond time or within time?
It is within time
Why is it
Within
within,
time.
why is it within time?
because it is Maya Sahita. It's
No.
it's not
Within time means what? Subject to destruction.
yes, it
Whenever,
is
yeah. So Saguna Brahman is subject to destruction?
yes.
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 And therefore it is mithya. Right. And therefore, when you use the word Satyam or Brahman to indicate, you have to be careful about whether it is Satya Brahman or Mithya Brahman. Mithya Brahman is Brahman which is within time, Saguna Brahman only. Okay. A long discussion. Any questions?
Acharya, so this word Hyaksharat refers to the Maya, Avyakta Maya part, Paratah refers to Antaryami, and Paraha is for
No,
Brahman.
no. Aksharat Parataha. Right? Aksharam here is superior to everything else. Antaryami is superior to the entire rest of the universe. And Paraha means Brahman, superior to Antaryami.
Okay.
Aksharat means Avyakta Maya.
Yeah, that's what.
Aksharat Parataha. Aksharat is Avyakta Maya, which is basically Antaryami only.
Okay, thank you.
So Brahman is superior to Avyakta Maya. Avyakta Maya is superior to everything else. Because from Avyakta Maya, from Antaryami, emerges Hiranyagarbha. From Hiranyagarbha emerges Virat, the universe. And Virat is basically all what they call moving and non-moving things. The planets, human beings, other living beings, everything is called moving and non-moving. I don't think we have enough time to finish even if we begin to finish the other third mantra. So we should stop here. And any questions, I'm willing to answer. Otherwise, we'll close this session. Remember, these are all very profound verses. And a proper understanding of each of the words is very essential, because as we go into the later Upanishads, you'll find that all the ideas here are being borrowed there. And if you have not understood this properly, thoroughly, you will find that you will struggle with those Upanishads.
I think, sir, I'm struggling here only. But okay, so Shat Vigara, when we learned about Shat Vigara, sir, we understood Asti as the existence in form of conception.
Yes. But
Right.
now we are saying that's an exceptional order used only in Tattvabodha. Normally in Vedanta, it stands to logic, right? Unless something is born, you cannot say, does it exist or not? Means if supposing a flower has flowered, right? Then at one point of time, if you say the flower was there in the garden, asti va nasti, is it still there or not? Does it still exist or not? And therefore, within the framework of the world, that order of asti has to be changed to jayate first. If you are talking about Brahman, then it doesn't matter. But that is, you're talking about Nirguna Brahman. If you're about Saguna Brahman, it matters. Because Astiva, Saguna Brahman is also born. The understanding needs to be very clear. It doesn't mean that if you are teaching Tattvabodha, you should bring in this. Okay, that is why we didn't bring in this at all. Tattvabodha, Bhagavad Gita is over. Your understanding has been cemented. And now such concepts are going to be brought in. This is not the only concept. Lots of concepts will come in as you progress, which will mean you are dropping earlier concepts or refining them. And therefore, you should not get confused. So with this, we'll stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Please do revise as frequently as possible these mantras. They are very, very important. Thank you. Om Om.